The Haram love. This is a story of an unacceptable or forbidden love affair resulting from racist motives between a white Sudanese Arab girl and a black African Zungi boy from South Sudan. It was written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a tribal system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer who may quote brief passages from the review for printing in a journal, magazine, a school journal, or a university article. All characters in this story are fictitious, and any resemblance to real people, live or dead, is purely coincidental. Chapter 28. The first session of the trial of Insaf at the criminal court in Khartoum. The lawyer Siham Khalil divided the charges against the accused, the Arab girl Insaf Salah al-Junaid, into three groups. The breakdown was based on the three cities in which the teenage girl suspect committed each set of crimes. On this basis, she asked the court to give her 3 days to defend her client against the charges written against her. The criminal court authority accepted her request and set 3 consecutive Fridays for the 3 hearings. Friday being a public holiday in Sudan, all residents of the Triangle capital city are expected to attend this historical and unique trial. On the day of the first hearing, the courtroom opened its doors to the public at 2:30 p.m. At 3:30 p.m., the court doors were closed. People who were unable to enter the courtroom were asked to return to their homes and watch the trial on their television screens or hear it on their radios. The trial began at 4:15 p.m. A court officer read the charge sheet. Khartoum police prepared a long rap sheet of charges against the suspect Insaf Salah al-Junaid. It is a summary of all the charges written by the police authorities of Gaddari, Port Sudan, and Khartoum cities against the suspect. The prosecutor in court is an old man who believes in the rulings, customs, and tradition of Islam more than his faith in God. When he came forward and faced the crowd, his religious appearance revealed that he intended it to preach a sermon at a mosque rather than convict the suspect. He began his speech by quoting part of the Quranic verses from Surah An-Nur 24 verse 2, which stipulates the punishment of adultery. The adulteress and the adulterer flog each one of them with 100 lashes, and let no pity for them prevent you from establishing God's rule if you believe in God on the last day, and let a group of believers witness their torment. He then spent a few minutes praising the Prophet Muhammad, his family, his companions, his relatives, and all the blessed generations of Muslims who followed after him and the followers of the followers. The judge had to ask him to brief and face the court instead of the public. He then turned his face to the judge and began to speak in a loud voice. Your Honor, fair judge and distinguished jurymen, the crimes of the suspected Muslim girl Insaf Salah al-Junaid were not committed by her in self-defense or under duress. Rather, she disobeyed her parents, ignoring our good norms and good social customs, rejecting the teaching of our beautiful Islamic religion, seeking pleasures in forbidden ways, and being greedy to earn haram money. This is what promoted such a young woman in the prime of her life to commit such heinous crimes. The police authority interrogated the accused in South Salah al-Junaid, and she confessed to her heinous acts. Accordingly, I asked this esteemed court to impose the harshest punishment on the accused in South Salah al-Junaid for the heinous and reprehensible crimes she committed against her Islamic religion, her Sudanese community, her Arab family, and those 4 innocent victims whom she killed in cold blood. Her punishment will serve as a warning to any woman who tries to break the law and indulge into the pleasures of this fleeting world. By this I mean any Muslim woman who refuses good, follows falsehood, rejects the right teaching of her Islamic religion, rebels against the authority of her husband, disobeys her father, challenges her society, and betrays and cheats on her husband, and sells her body to lustful men for financial gain in forbidden ways. Therefore, I ask this esteemed court not to have pity on the suspect in South Salah al-Junaid and to issue a death sentence against her for the horrific crimes she committed against humanity and against 4 victims, the fairest of whom is her infant child who came out of her womb. The second is her Muslim husband. The third is her companion in house of depravity. And the fourth is a woman who is a beam in house of prostitution. O Allah, have I reported it? Amen, O Lord of the worlds. After delivering his short sermon as if he had said it in a mosque, the public prosecutor returned to seat. The court immediately asked the accused lawyer to come forward and present her line of defense. Lawyer Siham Khalil looked nervous and her steps were uncertain as she walked toward the judge and jurymen. She holds a large red file in her right hand. She adjusted it, her Sudanese sari top on her head 3 times as she walked down the hall. Every time her sari slips from her head, her long dark hair is revealed. Her big eyes revealed not only her beauty but also her boldness and courage. Her round face showed not only a determination to champion the cause but also a willingness to fight, challenge, expose, and persuade. She stood between the judge and the audience. She faced several TV cameras. Then she opened her large red file, chose the paper she wanted it, and raised her head. She looked first at the accused in South Salah al-Junaid and then turned her gaze to the judge and jurymen. Lord Sihab began speaking in a loud voice. Your Honor, the judge and the distinguished jurymen, ladies and gentlemen, I was appointed by Mr. Deng Nasser to defend the case of the accused in South Salah al-Junaid. I admit that when Mr. Deng first contacted me, I was reluctant to plead this case. Deng is the same African boy accused of falling in love, committing adultery, and illegally fathering a forbidden illegitimate child, or the so-called Walad Haram, with my client, the Arab girl in South. He told me that he had not had any inappropriate sexual contact with Insaf. He admitted that one day he saw her on her way to the all-girls high school, which was not far from his all-boys high school, and he admitted her beauty. He admired her beauty and fell in love with her. Over time, Insaf responded to his emotions. This happened when Deng was living with his parents in the city of Gadarif. He wanted to marry her, but his wish was not fulfilled. When Insaf's father learned of the love affair, he stood against it. The reason for the father's refusal is that Deng is an African boy from South Sudan, and his daughter is a Sudanese Arab girl from the east of Sudan. We are all aware of the disgusting racial discrimination we experience in our African country, which is considered an Arab country. Therefore, Insaf's parents were very angry when they learned that their white Northern Arab daughter had fallen in love with a Southern black African boy. Out of his anger, her Arab father took her out of school and locked her in the house for more than 6 months. Her angry parents also shaved off all her hair and made her bald. Then Insaf was circumcised and her genitals were mutilated again, even though she was a Muslima girl who had been circumcised since childhood. The neighbors were aware of the forbidden or unwanted love affair between Deng and Insaf and what her father and mother did to break their socially unacceptable and racially objectionable relationship. For more than 6 months, Insaf remained locked in her room like a fallen girl, carrying shame on her body. It so happened that one morning, a woman found a dead child in a seasonal creek near Insaf's house. The neighbors concluded that she was the girl who gave birth to the illegitimate child, and her mother strangled him to death and threw his body into the creek at night. Therefore, her mother was also accused of participating in her Haram pregnancy, illegal conception and delivery of Walad Haram, a murder of an illegitimate child. By then, Insaf was engaged to her cousin. The cousin broke off his engagement as soon as he heard rumors that she became pregnant illegally, gave birth to an illegitimate child, and killed him. After that, the father of Insaf was keen to get rid of his so-called promiscuous daughter, and so he accepted the fairest Arab old man who came to ask for her hand in a permissible Islamic marriage. And that old geezer happened to be the late Haj Taha. Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the bench of this esteemed court, that a teenage girl in the prime of her youth, at the age of 17, was forced to marry an old man of 77 years old, who already has 3 wives in his estate, and with whom he had sons, daughters, and grandchildren. Any teenage girl in the world can agree to marry a man older than her grandfather. Birth and death records show that the late Haj Taha was older than her grandfather, the late Haj Junaid. Even his grandchildren are older than Insaf, and when she was 9-year-old girl, she played with his granddaughters in a neem tree in his house. As stated in the indictment, on the first wedding night, when he entered her confinement room in her father's house and tried to consummate his marriage to her, the teenage girl Insaf pushed the old man Haj Taha and caused his death. As I mentioned earlier, I would like to repeat it again. The groom Haj Taha was 77 years old, and the bride Insaf was 17 years old. The accused told me that at that time she was just a virgin teenage girl who had never married and had never known a man before. I now have 7 cases of brides who pushed, hit, or kicked their grooms on the first nights of their weddings and causes their untimely deaths. But none of them have been charged with first-degree murder or crime. Obtained these criminal reports from the Gaddafi Police Directorate. Their cases were rejected by the criminal court judges who investigated the circumstances of those incidents and acquitted the brides of premeditated murders. One of the accepted and required customs in the city of Gaddafi and many other cities in Sudan is that new brides should not allow their grooms to have sex with them on their first wedding nights of their legal Islamic marriages. Likewise, the bride in Saf should not bear the responsibility of following the customs of her people. She quarreled with her groom, Haitaha, because her Arab father forced her to marry him against her will. Even such a reason is not considered a murder by the Gadarif court. There are many situations where wives quarrel on their wedding nights with their husbands and causes their deaths. This was first because of custom and secondly because their husbands were old enough to be their fathers or grandfathers. Therefore, the wife in Saf did not intentionally kill her husband Hatta. She said that she pushed him when he tried to consummate his marriage to her against her wishes. Her push caused the old man to fall on his back, fracturing his skull and dying inside her confined room. Therefore, his death was accidental and not the result of premeditation and deliberation, as Article 114 stipulates about premeditated murder, the penalty of which is death by hanging. After that, the bride itself fled from her home in a panic in the middle of the night. Then she went to the railway station in the city of Gadarif and traveled by train to the city of Port Sudan. Since then, she became a girl without shelter or money, a runaway and a homeless young woman until she was recently arrested by the Khartoum police. Wherever she went, people used her maliciously and abused her severely. Then lawyer Siham Khalil stopped talking and she opened her big red file again. She selected some papers and closed her file. Before resuming her line of defense, she took a sip of water from a cup placed on the large table for the judge and his jurors. On the same night in which the neighbors in the neighborhood accused Insaf Salah Jinet of giving birth to an illegitimate child and that her mother was supposed to have strangled and killed the infant, which is called the Walad Haram or illegitimate boy, another young teenage woman died in Al Gadarif Civil Hospital. Some people brought that teenage girl in a taxi to the hospital. These people left her on a bench in the emergency department and disappeared. Unfortunately, the woman bled to death. Hospital staff informed the police authorities about the woman's lifeless body, which was found dead. The police investigated the matter and were able to identify the family of the dead girl. The girl's mother told police that her daughter left home that evening with her girlfriend. When the police arrested her friend and interrogated her, she confessed that her friend had given birth to an illegitimate child. She revealed the name of the midwife who secretly helped the girl give birth to the so-called Walad Haram. At the time of birth, the girl began bleeding profusely. The midwife was afraid of being arrested and condemned by the law because she helped a girl pregnant outside a legitimate Islamic marriage to have an illegal abortion. That is why she asked the other girl to take her friend to the hospital. The other girl was also afraid of being involved in an illegal abortion. She asked a taxi driver to help her take her friend to the hospital. At the hospital, the girl and the taxi driver secretly brought the dying young mother, left her on the bench in the emergency ward, and ran away and disappeared together. This secret abortion attempt took place in the midwife's home, which was only a few meters away from Insaf's family's home. The midwife was arrested and admitted that she had sought the help of an of a woman from the Falata tribe to get rid of the dead infant. She added that the child's mother was the one who strangled the illegitimate child she gave birth to in a forbidden manner immediately after his birth. The police authorities did not accept this and accused her of infanticide or murdering children. The other girl, a friend of the mother, testified against the midwife. The Arab mother of the illegitimate baby was forced to undergo a secret and illegal birth because her Arab boyfriend impregnated her before they are married. The court convicted the midwife in the Gadarif city of first-degree murder and sentenced her to 14 years in prison. The other girlfriend was also convicted for covering up the crimes of illegal birth and murder of an ill-gotten baby and is currently serving a 5-year prison sentence in Gadarif Central Prison. The taxi driver was acquitted, but his license was withdrawn and he was banned from working in taxis for life. Surprisingly, the criminal court closed the case file and did not attempt to find out what happened to the infant's baby. The Falatia woman hired by the midwife to dispose the baby's dead body was arrested. This arrest occurred after my second recent return to the city of Gadarif and I asked the police to track her down. When she was arrested, she pleaded guilty to hiding the infant's body under some rusty metal in the same creek where Insaf's neighbors discovered the illegitimate child. Moreover, she admitted that she was the same Nigerian woman who screamed early in the morning and called on the people in the Al Maidan neighborhood area to come out of their homes to see the scandal of Walad Haram or the body of the murdered illegitimate child. She thought that by acting out this drama, she would not be accused of participating in the killing of the innocent baby. As a result of these discoveries, the arrest and the reinterrogation of some of the perpetrators, such as the midwife, the girlfriend of the deceased mother, the taxi driver, and the Falatia woman who screamed, the Gadari Police Department recently lifted this charge against the accused in South Salah Junaid. According to Your Honor, the judge and your distinguished jurors, the illegitimate child was fathered by an Arab girl named Nadia Ali Hassan. He was then killed instantly at birth by being strangled to death by an evil midwife named Mastura Musa Sharafuddin. Chapter 29. The second session of the trial of Insaf at the Criminal Court in Khartoum. Lawyer Siham Khalil's defense of the suspected Arab girl Insaf's Salah Junaid was met with mixed reaction in the Sudanese capital city. Many praised the smart lawyer and appreciated her efforts and intelligence in acquitting the accused of charges of adultery, illegal pregnancy, killing an illegitimate infant, and not premeditated murder of her old husband Hattaha in the city of Gadari. Despite this acclaim and praise, some religious groups found fault with the lawyer's appearance. These religious leaders criticized the government for allowing a woman to be a lawyer and appear before millions of people. Her hair was exposed several times during the trial whenever the sari top fell from her head, and according to them, it was an intentional act. According to Islamic law, a woman is not permitted to show her hair to men or speak in public because her voice is considered aura. Her dress was not Islamic. She had neither a veil on her head nor a niqab on her face. She was not wearing an abaya over her sexy body, and her large buttocks and nipples were visible from her semi-exposed breast. Therefore, some clerks demanded that the lawyer, who was deliberately naked, be flogged with 40 lashes because of her indecency. They cited it the following public morals law to support their claim. Sudanese Sharia law stipulates the following: any adult female who commits an indecent act or an act contrary to public morals in a public place, wears an obscene outfit, or violates public morals, or causes distress to public feelings, shall be punished by flogging with not more than 40 lashes on her buttocks and back. This punishment may be a severe beating, a fine, or a both. They also said that lawyer Siham Khalil is a woman, and Islam, she is an aura, or a naked female, wherever she appears. Even her voice, which everyone heard, is considered shameful and a sexual temptation for men, which leads some of them to commit adultery and rape. She appeared in front of television cameras and thus exposed her private parts to the public. In the Islamic Encyclopedia, the word aura means that she is a naked woman, as if she were an exposed, walking and talking pussy covered only by a black pubic hair. This term aura is used religiously in Islam to mean that every part of a woman's body is considered naked and causes sexual temptation for men, which drives a man to commit obscene sexual crimes such as adultery, sodomy, incest, or rape. Even the sound of a female swallowing is considered a source of sexual temptation for the male. For this reason, Islam requires women to wear the Islamic abaya and hijab, niqab, or burqa. Some extremist religious groups also found fault with the lawyers challenge to the customs of the bride and groom on their first wedding night, when the bride refused to allow her groom to steal her virginity and he had to have a sexual intercourse with her violently. This custom has good morals behind it. For example, the bride fights, screams, objects, and resists because she wants to prove to her groom, her parents, her mother-in-law, her neighbors, her girlfriends, and her school female classmates in the neighborhood that she is a polite, honorable, chaste, and virgin girl, and therefore does not allow any man to violate her honor, even if her husband is lawful according to the book of God and the sunnah of his prophet. Therefore, this good marital habit must be respected, preserved, and encouraged. The media also conducted interviews with some religious leaders who expressed their opinions about the love relationship that brought together the accused Arab girl in South Salah al-Junaid and the African boy Deng Nasir before the legal marriage. All of them condemned the premarital love affair and claimed that the Nusra in South followed the devil's step by falling in love with the sojourner, Deng. Even if she did not have sex with him, by being alone with him illegally, she gave Satan an opportunity to destroy her life. They supported this opinion with the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, in which he said, if a man and a woman are isolated alone in the company of each other, Satan is deemed to be their shared partner. Despite all these protests and criticisms, the criminal court refused to convict or exclude the lawyer Siham Khalil. The second session started an hour before the scheduled time. Attendance doubled. The court authority issued a prior announcement stating that no person, male or female, under the age of 18 would be allowed to enter the courtroom. The court also corrected its policy and reserved special seats for dignitaries and senior government officials. Lawyer Siam Khalil received an official order from the judicial authority to lower her voice, reduce her makeup, and find a way to keep the sari top attached to her head so that her hair would not appear again. Failure to follow the order may result in her being deprived of defending her client, the suspected girl, in South Salah al-Junaid. This time, when lawyer Siam Khalil appeared before the judge and the audience, her sari top was securely fastened to her hair with several clips. Her face looks more beautiful without makeup. She is wearing a beautiful white sari top. This time, she was she was not as nervous and seemed more relaxed than the first session. She walks gracefully and confidently toward the judge and jury. She had the same big red file. People look at her with admiration and respect. She began to speak before opening her red file and removing the papers required for her second defense. Greetings to all of you in the name of humanity, justice, and love. Today I will address the charges against the accused in South Salah al-Junaid related to her visit to the city of Port Sudan. While the lawyer was uttering these words, her hands were busy selecting the appropriate papers. Once she took out her papers, she raised her head and looked first at Insaf. It appears that she wanted it to direct the attention of the judge, jury, and public to the suspected girl and not to herself. Her long look conveyed her message to everyone. Most people now do not see Insaf as a criminal girl as they did before. They do not consider her the killer of her infant child and the killer wife of her elderly husband Hatta. Thus, the lawyer opened her second line of argument. The suspected girl in South Salah al-Junaid is also accused of stealing expensive pieces of jewelry from the wealthy Arab former fiancé Samir Wad Mazoud in Port Sudan City. In addition, she is accused of killing her friend Badriya, a drop in the city of Khartoum, Bahri. Although these two accusations are linked to the visits of the suspected girl in South to two different cities, they are linked to each other in one way or another. While living in Port Sudan City, Insaf fell in love with an Arab boy named Samir Mazoud, who was from a wealthy family. Samir and Insaf decided to marry each other, but neither Samir nor his noble Arab family nor anyone else in the city of Port Sudan knew about Insaf's past life when she was in the city of Gadarif. On the day of the engagement, a visiting woman who came from Gadarif city saw the fiancée Insaf sitting near her fiancé Samir and recognized her. Then she publicly informed everyone about her romantic relationship with her Southern African lover Deng and the rumor that she had become pregnant out of marriage bond and given birth to an illegitimate child. kill him, and cause the untimely death of her old husband, Hatta. When this woman revealed the hidden past of Insaf to all, my client had only one choice: to flee. She ran from her engagement party with all the expensive decorations on her body. She did not have the time or opportunity to deliver the jewelry to the family of her Arab fiancé, Samir. On the same day, Samir's family filed a legal complaint against her with the Port Sudan police. On the evening of the same day, Insaf boarded the train and traveled on the long journey from Port Sudan city to the triangular capital city. It happened that on the day of her arrival, she met by chance at the Khartoum public railway station a girl named Badria. The two girls shared their problems with each other and discovered that they had similar problems. They fled from their families because their lives were in danger. Both girls are from the eastern region of Sudan. According, the two girls decided to be friends. Badria then suggested it to her new friend that she move in with her in her apartment. Insaf gladly accepted her new friend's invitation because she was homeless and did not know anyone in Khartoum city. Badria informed Insaf that she is from Port Sudan city and works as a secretary in the capital city. However, this information is not correct. Instead, the police report showed that Badria was a street prostitute who practiced disguised prostitution. Insaf lived with Badria for a month without knowing that she was a disguised prostitute who engaged in such illegal activities on the streets at night and sometimes secretly called her sex clients to her apartment. During that period, Badria did not ask her friend to pay half of the rent for the apartment. She promised to find honest work for Insaf, but she did not do so and continued to lie about her illegal activities. Meanwhile, neighbors noticed that some men were visiting the two girls' apartment late night. They, they complained to the building owner and asked her to remove the two girls accused of practicing clandestine prostitution. When the neighbors pressured the building owner, she gave the two girls a final warning. The neighbors' accusations caused a quarrel between Insaf and Badria. Insaf became suspicious of her friend's nighttime activities. The quarrel between the two friends was heated, and some neighbors heard their verbal fight. That night, Insaf decided to spy on her friend Badria. She went to her room and stayed awake. That same night, Insaf heard someone moving in the living room. She got out of bed and looked through the keyhole. She saw a man entering her friend's room. She decided to catch her friend red-handed in the very act of committing adultery with the man who visited her at night. She waited a while before leaving her room. The man did not stay in Badria's room for more than a few minutes, and this confirmed to her that he had not had sex with her friend. When he left her roommate's room, Insaf was able to see him well. He didn't look like a city guy. He looked like a tribal man, the likes of whom she had seen during her stay in Port Sudan city. His hair was dirty and stood like a wild bush on his head. His clothes were yellow due to long exposure to the heat of the sun and dust. Then Insaf saw the man running away from their apartment like a thief. She concluded that the man was a burglar who stole some valuables from Badria's room. She quickly headed to her friend's room. When she entered the room, she found her friend lying on the floor to a pool of blood with a large dagger stuck in her heart. Therefore, Insaf understood that the man was the one who killed Badriya. The fear of being involved in a murder and revealing her hidden past life prevented her from reporting to the police authority. She knows that she is, she is escaping justice because of the charge of killing her old husband Hattaha in their first wedding night. Instead, she fled the apartment and decided never to return. Insaf did not know what happened after she escaped from her friend's dead body. Neighbors discovered Badriya's murdered body. A few days later, the body of the late girl Badriya decomposed, and the foul odor prompted the neighbors to inform the police. The police considered the escaped girl Insaf to be the prime suspect in the murder. The police found expensive jewelry in Insaf's room, gold and money in Badriya's room. The police confiscated the money, gold, and jewelry. A month later, the police sold the confiscated items and the money was added to the government treasury. I asked the police officer in charge why the jewelry and gold were being sold and the money confiscated before the case was closed. He told me that the jewelry, gold, and money were obtained illegally. This means that the suspected girl Insaf and her late friend Badriya were prostitutes disguised as college students and bought those precious pieces of jewelry with the money they earned through prostitution. Before I talk more about the killing of Badriya, I would like to mention again that the police force in Khartoum city sold the precious jewelry and gold jewelry that belonged to the family of Insaf's Arab fiancé Samir was Masoud, and the money was added to the government treasury. Therefore, the police authority in Khartoum city must compensate Samir's family for the jewelry they confiscated and sold. If the police refuse to do so, Samir and his family in Bursudan city could sue the government and charge it with unjustified theft in Khartoum city. One attorney, Siham Khalil, made the above remark. The audience, Jerry and Judge laughed. The lawyer continued, with regard to the killing of Badriya, obtained her photo from the police station in Khartoum and took it with me on my visit to the city of Port Sudan. I showed the photo to the Port Sudan police and asked them to find out the resident of the killed girl before she fled from her family. The police were able to locate her home in an area called Trap Hadal neighborhood. The late girl was from the Hadandawa tribe in eastern Sudan, which is one of the branches of the Bija people. They are the so-called mysterious people, and Western foreigners call them fuzzy-wuzzy people. She has a brother who is 2 years older than her. Someone deceived her under the pretext of love and impregnated her with an illegitimate child without marrying her. Her brother tried to kill her when he learned of her ill-gotten pregnancy, but her neighbors saved her when she screamed for help. Because of fear that her brother would slaughter her in an honor killing, Badriya fled from Bortistan city and came to Khartoum city. In the capital city, she was unable to find work or a shelter, and for a while became homeless on the streets. Then her miserable circumstances forced her to become a street prostitute, and sometimes she brought clients to her apartment. She lived in a building where female university students from Port Sudan city resided in, and falsely claimed that she was also a university student. This is the building where she later invited her friend in South to come and live with her in her apartment without paying rent. Somehow, her brother learned of her new place of residence and came from Bor Sudan to kill her. Most likely a university student girl from her city and her neighbors in Bor Sudan, where she was and what she was doing. She informed most likely a university student girl from her city told her neighbors in Bor Sudan where she was staying and what she was doing in Khartoum city. By this way, her brother learned of her new hiding place from him. The brother is the same ugly-looking man whom himself saw at night entering and quickly fleeing from her friend's room. When I studied the circumstances of Badria's murder, I realized that the killer was not interested in stealing money or having sex. Instead, he's someone who wants to take revenge on her and punish her for something she did that wasn't actually her fault alone. If he was a burglar or a sex pleasure seeker, he wouldn't have escaped without stealing her money, an expensive piece of jewelry, or raping her. The police authority did not find any evidence that anything was stolen from her room, and that was why they accused her roommate itself of killing her. Due to the fight between them on division of illegal marriage, which they acquired through prostitution. The description of the killer, which himself told me, led me to guess that he might be someone close to Badria. On my second visit to Port Sudan City, I asked the police to question Badria's close relative. The description fits her brother. When he was arrested and interrogated, he admitted that he slaughtered his bad sister in an honored killing in Khartoum City because she had brought shame to the family in Port Sudan City. He is now in remand detention in prison and on pre-trial for murder in Port Sudan. Unfortunately, he may not be sentenced to death because honor killing is not considered a first-degree murder in Sudanese law. Based on what I said, Your Honor, the judge, my client himself, Salah al-Junaid, is innocent of the charge of killing her late friend Badria. When the smart lawyer Siam Khalil had also acquitted the Arab suspected girl in South of the third murder charge, the crowd rose to their feet and began to clap and cheer as if they were fans in a football stadium. Some shouted words of appreciation. Some men shouted Allahu Akbar. Many women ululated. Some girls cheered, and other young guys whistled loudly. The judge gave the audience enough time to express their broad feelings. Then he took his gavel, hit his table, and shouted loudly, "The second session has ended." Chapter 30. The third session of the trial of Insaf at the criminal court in Khartoum. Likewise, the second hearing was made by the public with a mixture of ambivalent feelings and attitudes. Lawyer Siam Khalil was accused of assaulting the police force and the Khartoum government. She considered that she had gone beyond her limits as a litigator through her work as a police investigator. She's like British detective Sherlock Holmes when she solves a difficult and complicated crime case. For those who are not in the know, Sherlock Holmes is a fictional character from the late 19th and early 20th centuries, created by the Scottish writer and physician Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Holmes describes himself as a consulting detective based in London City who helps police officers and detectives when they are unable to solve crimes. Holmes was famous for his skill in using logical thinking, his ability to disguise himself, and his ability to use forensic knowledge to solve the most complex cases. Likewise, the shrewd Sudanese lawyer Tiam Khalil collected various pieces of evidence, mixed them together, and arrived at a hasty conclusion. Through her second defense of her suspected client in South, the Khartoum police officers were convicted and accused of being thieves who stole the gold and money of a prostitute called Badriya, who was killed by her brother in an honor killing. She also described them as swindlers who plundered the money of the wealthy family of Samir with Mas'ud, the Arab fiancé of the accused in Saf, who accused her of lying to him, betraying him, and stealing the expensive pieces of jewelry that he gave her on the occasion of their engagement. It is better for the judge, not the lawyer, to do such work. Not many people accepted it that the suspected Arab girl in South Salah Junaid was not involved in disguised form of prostitution before her arrest by Khartoum police. They argued that a prostitute's girlfriend would certainly become a prostitute. In the third and final session, the $1 million question: how will the shrewd lawyer try to convince the criminal court and the public that the girl who completely exposed her private parts and showed the black pubic hair of her pussy and her big ass and naked buttocks in front of a wealthy Saudi man is not a professional prostitute? Therefore, they believe that the judge should not be deceived by the lawyer's cunning words. Meanwhile, the smart, bleeding attorney's office is crowded with media professionals who want to know her expectation for the final session. Everyone doubted her ability to quit in Saf of the latest charge in the killing of the woman Bim Haji Shaza. Several journalists have interviewed her regarding her expectation for the outcome of her final defense. No direct answers were provided by her to their questions. She only promised them to do her best to acquit in Saf the accused of the recent murder of the dissident Haji Shaza. In the last session, the court authority tightened security measures. Armed police officers are everywhere. The notorious Janjaweed, who have come to be known as the Rapid Support Forces, outnumber the police. In addition, a good number of military soldiers are also stationed in different corners of the court. They are armed to the teeth and equipped to confront any riots. Spies, government agents, and morality police, known as God's police of Allah, are also spread throughout the public. They are wearing civilian clothes, but underneath they are hiding their assault rifles. The accused Arab girl in South Salah Junaid was escorted into the courtroom under tight security. She is now not bound hands and feet as was the case in the previous two sessions. She is wearing the immodest dress given to her by the late Bim Haji Shaza. It's a dress specially designed to reveal the greatest amount of female hidden charm. It is known among young teenagers as the separation of religion from state. This means exposing the girl's private parts as much as possible. Therefore, the revealing dress revealed the shoulders, chest, half of the nipples, and the breast of the beautiful and sexy accused Arab damsel in Saf, as well as her large buttocks. A long cut in the dress from her waist to her feet revealed her right leg, thigh, hip, and red underwear as she walked into the courtroom. It was designed by the tailor of the Bim, Hajjasheza, to expose as much of Insaf's sexy body as possible to entice her wealthy clients, especially the rich all Arab geezer Sheikh Abdu. So she kidnapped Insaf and intended to lock her in her house to make money from wealthy, lustful men from her beauty and sexy body. Lord Sam Khalil had become extremely upset once she saw her accused client in that scandalous and inappropriate dress. Before the first session, she recommended to the prison authority that the suspected Arab girl in Saf be allowed to wear during each of the 3 sessions one of the 7 dresses that her African friend Deng had bought and given to her. The prison authority accepted the request and allowed Insaf to wear modest clothing only during the first and second sessions. The lawyer guessed correctly that some female prison guards were conspiring with some police officers who did it intentionally. They probably bribed the woman's prison administration and some of the female guards and made them force the accused Insaf to wear this scandalous dress. They want to show the judge, the jury, and the entire public how revealing her clothes were and how tempting her semi-naked body was when she met the old Saudi man, Sheikh Abdul, before she stripped completely naked in front of him and showed him her bushy hair, her naked breasts, her big buttocks, and even her ass. They want to prove that only a street prostitute would agree to wear such revealing clothing to entice men in public place. Therefore, Attorney Siham Khalil concluded that some malicious people were working against the trial from within the police department. Either the government put pressure on the prison administration or the police wanted it to take revenge for Siham's assault on them. In this case, the judge, jurymen, and public may reject her defense of Insaf in the recent murder. As she approached the judge, Siham's face showed indescribable anger. Her steps were unstable and her legs were shaking. Instead of the lawyer opening her light red file as usual and removing the required papers, Siham slowly placed her file on the table and raised her face. After that, she opened her clothes and removed her sari top from her entire body. The judge, the jury, and the audience were extremely shocked when they saw an adult woman taking off her clothes in court as if she wanted it to jump into the swimming pool or the Nile beach in a bikini and a bra, or a swim in a mirage. The dress underneath her undone sari is so short that it barely covers her sexy hips. Her legs are long and her thighs are sexy and fully exposed. Her shoulders were completely exposed too. Her short dress clung to her body and showed off her big, sexy buttocks. If she leaned it forward slightly or lowered her body down, everyone in the audience might see parts of her body that had not yet been revealed, such as her little black underwear, her pink para, her abba thighs, and her hips. Then she then the beautiful and sexy lawyer grabbed her Sudanese sari and tore it into two equal parts from top to bottom. She put the first half on the table and took the second half to her accused client in South. The audience, judge, and jury are still in shock. None of them utter a word of protest, admiration, or a denunciation. Once Haram arrived at Insaf, she carefully wrapped her semi-naked body with the first half of her split sari. She carefully covered all exposed parts of her client's body. Even her long black hair, which was down to her buttocks, was hidden under the sari. The accused Insaf now looks as if she was wearing the abaya and hijab when she was doing so in the house of the good old man Haj Abdullah before the beam woman Haj Shaza kidnapped her and forced her to wear that revealing dress. Then the bold lawyer Siham returned to her table, took the other half of the sari and covered her exposed body. After she did that, she opened her huge red file and took out some of her papers. Before she began her defense. An angry, bearded man stood up from the audience and shouted at the judge, "These court proceedings must be stopped immediately, and this infidel feminist woman must be excluded from defending the case. More than that, she should be punished because she exposed her private parts to the public." The judge answered loudly, "Sir, can you sit down and not speak again?" The man asked, "Do you know who am I?" The judge replied, "I don't care who you are. I'm the Minister of Religious Affairs and Endowments. Sir, I told you to sit down and shut up. And if you talk to me again, I will throw you out of the courtroom. How dare you address me as if I were a court belief? Even if the president of the Democratic Republic of Sudan comes here and tries to interfere in the trial, I will expel him from my court." The bold behavior of lawyer Siham Khalil at the judge's courageous words filled the hearts of the audience with great admiration. Despite this, none of them have the courage to clap their hands or cheer with their voices. There was complete silence as if the audience were in a mosque waiting for the imam, the judge, and the lawyer, the mamoon, to lead them in one of their daily compulsory 5 prayers. Then the bold and gallant defender Siham Khalil broke the wall of silence and shouted in a very loud voice, "If the defendant Insaf had been accustomed to wearing such a scandalous and indecent dress that the woman's prison administration forced her to wear in the last session today, she would not have received shelter from Haj Abdullah's family." She then waited a few minutes to see if anyone in the courtroom wanted it to challenge her statements about her client. This type of closing is intended for bad women and prostitutes, but not for a girl with good morals like Insaf. This time, the bold lawyer looked directly into the face of the Ministry of Religious Affairs and Endowments and waited for his reaction. His Excellency changed his angry, bearded face in the opposite direction to avoid her brave challenge. "Today, I I will expose people who hide their evil motives under the cloak of religion and the umbrella of law. Today, I'm going to drop a bomb in this court, and I don't care who gets hurt. While she was uttering these words of challenge, the lawyer hit the table with her fist 3 times. Today, I'll prove to the court that the church priest who accused himself of theft is himself a thief, and the police officer who accused himself of adultery is an adulterer himself. Siham stopped and looked at the Minister of Religious Affairs again, but he avoided any eye contact with her and quickly turned his turbaned square head in the other direction. Then she looked at the line of police officers, but they ducked their heads to avoid her defiance. Among them was the police officer Yasser Talha. If Insaf had broken into the priest's office and stolen the church money from his safe, she would not have searched for a piece of moldy bread and rotten fruit in the trash container. She was not going to spend her first night in a dirty public woman's toilet. She would not sleep during her second night in a hole under the Omdurman bridge. Her savior is Haj Abdullah, and he can testify in court where he found himself on the said day after she escaped from the priest's house, which was located inside the church complex. Then lawyer Siham pointed with her right hand to this Haj Abdullah, who was not sitting far away from her. This is Haj Abdullah's statement, and I would quote it from the statement he made to me. I found the noble Arab girl in Saf bent over in a garbage container with 2 stray dogs looking for something to eat. I cried when I saw a noble Arab Muslim girl standing inside a smelly garbage container and looking for something rotten to eat. So I took her to my house and asked my wife, Hajja Maryam, to feed and water her. The good man, Haj Abdullah, wiped some tears from his bearded face when he heard Lord Siham read his statement. Believer, Siham was also unable to complete her speech when she took out her speech until she took out her handkerchief and wiped away her tears. When she tried to speak again, her voice choked with sadness, and so she said the following sentences in a tearful voice. The Coptic church priest sitting there is a false clergyman. He lied to his staff, he lied to the police, and he lied to his church members. Insaf was deceived by him when he claimed that he discovered her involvement in the murder of her friend Badriya through an article he read in a newspaper. Now let him come forward and tell the court how he knew that Ishraqa and Ilham were the names of the same girl whom we know as Insaf. I have here in my file a copy of the newspaper that announced the killing of Badriya Adrob and mentioned Haram and Ishraqa as the men accused. The newspaper did not include a photo of the fugitive accused Ishraqa. The lawyer put down her papers and looked at the chair priest who was sitting in the first row among the dignitaries. The cunning priest responded with an angry face and remained sitting in his chair as if the challenge was not his. Then Siham said, there may be some confusion about the 3 names of the girls I mentioned, so it needs some clarification. When Insaf escaped from the body of her friend Badriya, she changed her name from Ishraqa to Ilham. As a result, for the priest and his church and his Christian family and church congregation, Insaf was known to them as Ilham. I asked the venerable priest about this matter, And this is what he told me. He told me that a woman from his church named Amal Abtunagwa told him that Ishraq and Ilham are two names for the same Muslim girl. Approached this woman, whom the priest and his congregation call Mrs. Holy because of her so-called holiness and righteousness. Mrs. Holy claimed that God revealed to her the secret information that had been hidden from them by himself through the Holy Spirit. Moreover, she said that she was gifted by God to know the crimes committed by evil men and to discern sins committed by bad women, such as adultery, theft, murder, and the like. When she made such a strange claim, I challenged her to tell me Ilham's real name before she fled from her family in the city of Gadarif, but she could not. She's sitting here in court. Let Mrs. Holly, the prophetess and fortune teller, come forward and tell the judge and the juryman the name of one of those sitting to her left or to her right. When the lawyer challenged the priest and Mrs. Holly, the audience clapped their hands for a long time. Of course, most of the attendees are Muslims, so they are happy when the church priest turns out to be a liar and one of his church members is an impostor Christian woman. Before resuming her defense, Siam sipped from a cup of water. While she was putting the cup to her lips, she looked at the Minister of Religious Affairs and Endowments. The Honorable Minister turned his bearded face again in the opposite direction. Siam placed her cup on the table and smiled. The accused Insaf kept changing her name wherever she went to hide her true identity after she fled from her husband's dead body. When she fled to Port Sudan, she claimed her name was Ihsan. And in Khartoum, she told her friend Badriya that her name was Ishraqa. At the church priest's house, she changed her name to Ilham and finally told Haj Abdullah and his family that she was called Iman and she was from the city of Kassala. All the names she chose begin with the first letter of her name in South, but she did not change the name of her father, Salah al-Junaid. After that, Lord Siham opened her file, chose some papers, and said with seriousness and blatant anger on her face, "Now I'll drop the second bomb and prove to the court that the police officer who discovered the body of the murdered woman, the Bim Hajjashaza, inside her house, did not come there by chance. Someone phoned him before the murder happened and asked him to come over as soon as possible. The Bim, known as Hajjashaza, because she claimed to have visited the house of God 7 times and performed Hajj rituals, learned that the beautiful Arab girl Iman in Haj Abdullah's house is called Insaf and is accused of 3 murders, 2 thefts, and prostitution. She got this information about her through the newspaper. The man who provided the police with the photo of Insaf and a full description of her alleged crimes is the same church minister sitting here. Hajjashaza visited Haj Abdullah's house, saw Iman there, and recognized her as the girl Insaf who had run away and was wanted by the police. Instead of informing the police, Hajjashaza decided to sexually blackmail Insaf. Then she blackmailed and kidnapped Insaf from Haj Abdullah's house without his family's knowledge, brought her to her home, and forced her to wear the scandalous and inappropriate dress that the prison authorities forced my client, who has good morals, to wear today. Then she asked her to expose her private parts to a wealthy old Saudi man. The old man was an impotent man, but he wanted it to enjoy seeing the nakedness of the stripped naked girls. The Bim Shaza gave the kidnapped girl Insaf 2 options: either to expose her naked body to the old man and let him see her private parts, or to report her crimes to the police and send her behind bars. My client reluctantly accepted the first option and showed her nakedness to the voluptuous old man, Sheikh Abdu. Hajjasaza kept her nephew Hamada secret inside the toilet in the house with a hidden camera and asked him to film Insaf when she stripped completely naked and reveal her exposed body in front of the rich old Saudi man. Neither the girl Insaf nor the Saudi man, Sheikh Abdu, knew about the hidden camera. The luxurious old Saudi geezer satisfied his lustful eyes when he saw the nakedness of the beautiful Sudanese girl Insaf and paid the money to the lioness Hajjashaza before leaving. He claimed that he was traveling to his country that same night. But the police did not find evidence of Khartoum at Khartoum International Airport to prove that he left the country on the night of the murder. His name, Sheikh Abdu, as a citizen holding a Saudi passport, is not found among the guests in any hotel in the triangular capital city of Sudan. It seems that he lied about his real name to the BIM, Balanis, Shaza, and the victim of sexual blackmail in South. I name her the adulterous lioness because she told Insaf that Sheikh Abdu was her Saudi husband and she was his Sudanese al-Misyar wife. Then the lawyer Siham stopped again and took a sip from her cup of water. After that, she opened her red file, selected other papers, and resumed her line of defense. I know it is hard to believe that the lustful old Saudi man paid a large sum of money by check and went out without having sex with the beautiful, completely naked Sudanese girl Insaf, whom he saw standing before his eyes without even her underwear and bra. The accused Insaf Salah Junaid said that she did not have sex with the old Arab man, and I believe her words. She said that she was ready to take a virginity test to prove her innocence, and that she was not a prostitute and had not had sex with any man. But unfortunately, the court authority rejected her request to conduct a virginity test. They said that no court in Sudan would accept the result of such non-Islamic evidence. They also said that this type of virginity testing goes against Islamic teaching on the privacy of any female Muslim suspect. They also claim that there are doctors who can perform secret abortions and restore the hymen to non-virgin girl. However, without this virginity test, I have other evidence to support my client's defense. My client was not interested in the money the rich Saudi old man paid to see her naked body. When the lustful old woman left, when the lustful old man left, Insaf asked the big woman to take her back to her Abdullah's house. But the evil Hajjashaza told her that she had a friend, a police officer, who also knew about her heinous crimes, and he was on his way to her house. She then told Insaf that if she wanted it to hide her heinous crimes, she would allow the police officer to have sex with her at least once. She also said that she would ask the police officer to use a condom during sex to prevent Insaf from becoming pregnant with an illegitimate child. The adulterous lioness Shaza was a bim and a prostitute who traded in bringing beautiful girls to have sex with rich, lustful men, and through that illicit trade, she became a filthy rich woman. Therefore, Insaf understood that Haji Shaza had kidnapped her from Haji Abdullah's house and was planning to hold her captive in her home in order to sexually blackmail her and sell her body to her lustful male clients. In order to eliminate kidnapping and extortion in the butt, the purebred, well-mannered, honorable, and chaste Arab girl in Saf took a solid iron vase and hit Hajjashaza on the forehead, breaking her skull. The evil woman died instantly. The horrific scene of the beam woman reminded Isaf of the dead bodies of her husband Hattaha and her friend Badriya Adrob. Therefore, the fear of the murdered body and the arriving police officer forced her to flee Hajjashaza's house. The lawyer Siham stopped her defense for a minute to look at the accused Insaf. Her gaze redirected the eyes of the judge, jurymen, and audience to Insaf as well. She won the court and audience to think for a few minutes about what she said about the moral integrity of her client. Then the lawyer continued in a loud and angry voice. According to the indictment, Insaf killed Hajja Shaza because of a quarrel between them over the division of money bet by the wealthy Saudi man Haj Abdu. Now, how do we accept that Insaf killed the Bim Hajja Shaza in order to obtain more illicit money when she fled her home without taking a single Sudanese pound? When the police searched the house of the murdered woman, Shaza Hassan, they found it full of gold, jewelry, and a lot of cash and foreign currencies such as American dollars, European euros, and Saudi riyals and Gulf dinars. In addition, the check paid by the lustful Saudi man was found inside the bucket of Hajjashaza's killed body. From this evidence, it is logical to conclude that Insaf did not kill the Bim lady for money, but for another reason. The advocate Siam stopped again and looked at the judge to see if she had convinced him with this strong line of defense. The judge retained the case with a look that conveyed the message that more evidence was needed to make her view admissible as strong evidence for her client's innocence to the court. The police officer Yasir Talha said that a neighbor informed him of the murder. He also claimed that he received an anonymous phone call informing him of the crime. He says that he did not know who called him. Any call made to a police officer while he or she is on duty must be recorded. According to his claim, he received a call from an unknown person in his office during his working hours. He responded to the call and went to Hajjashaza's house alone. First of all, how can a police officer go to the scene of a murder without other police officers with him? Secondly, where is the recorded message from the unknown neighbor who reported the crime? Police officer Yasir Talha's answers to these questions were not satisfactory to me when I heard them from him. Therefore, his answers could not convince the court of his innocence. He said that he went in a hurry and did not tell any of his colleagues about the murder. He was unable to provide the court with the recorded message of the unknown person who called him by phone. He said it was not necessary for a police officer to tell the court how he obtained information about a crime. According to him, this information must remain classified for the purpose of permanently protecting the life of the informant. The lawyer Siham was silent. Then she looked at the judge and jury members. Their frowning faces confirmed that police officer Yasir Talha was right in his answers. They do not have the right to pressure him to give the recorded confidential message of his anonymous informant. The lawyer was disappointed, but resumed her defense anyway. It happened that five of Hajjashaza's neighbors were standing in front of her house when her murder occurred. These neighbors are here in court, ready to testify to what I have to say. They all claim to have seen the old Arab man leaving the house in a hurry. Soon after, they saw a beautiful teenage girl run away from home. Then they saw a young boy whom they identified as Hajjashaza's nephew running out of the house as well. A few minutes after the girl and the boy disappeared from their sight, the neighbors saw police officers Yasir Talha's car arrive and stop in front of Hajjashaza's house. Now I would like to return to my question. Who informed the police officers Yasir Talha about the murder? Hajjashaza's nephew Hamada said he did not inform the police. Insaf denied that she reported it to the police. All neighbors questioned by the police investigators collectively denied reporting to the police. I strongly reject the idea that a neighbor, the so-called unknown person, discovered the murder, made an anonymous phone call, and informed the police officer. How could a neighbor discover a murder when he had never set foot inside the house? Because this information conflicts with the neighbors' testimonies about the three people leaving the house shortly after the crime occurred. The only person left is Hajjashaza herself. She called the police officer Yasir Talha not because she wanted him to save her from imminent death or to see her murdered body, but rather because she asked him to come and blackmail the beautiful runaway bride and have sex with her as a bribe. And because of that, Insaf killed her. She killed her because she did not want to be kidnapped and sexually enslaved by Hajjashaza and her lustful men forever. Then lawyer Siham placed her papers on the table and closed her big red file. After that, she got out of her chair and walked toward her client, Insaf Salah Hajjinet. She then gestured with her right hand towards her as she faced the judge and jurymen. This noble Arab girl, continues the lawyer Sam Khalil in a loud voice, is a symbol of purity, honor, chastity, and courage. Just as her name means Insaf, she is an angel and messenger of heavenly justice and should be called Adla and Afaf, just and chaste. She chose to eat a rotten morsel of food from a filthy garbage container rather than sell her body into prostitution. She preferred to kill rather than allow people to satisfy their greed for money and their insatiable desires with her pure body. She is more honorable than her Arab father, who shaved her hair, locked her in her room for 6 months, assaulted it, and physically abused her with a stick, and finally sold her to an old man in marriage to preserve his honor. This accused girl challenge our prejudice against other Sudanese. She does not see our African sisters and brothers as we see them. The Arab girl in South did not see her African lover Deng as inferior to her, as her racist parents saw him. When she met him in her city, she fell in love with him. She wanted to marry him and spend the rest of her life with him as husband and wife. Unfortunately, her prejudiced Arab parents hated her and punished her harshly for falling in love with the so-called black-faced African Negro slave. To this day, the girl in South loves the boy Deng, and the African boy loves his Arab girlfriend. Out of her three lovers, the noble Arab rich boy Samir Wad Masoud, the Christian Coptic boy William, only her African lover Deng came to her rescue when she was accused of those alleged heinous crimes of 4 murders and 2 robberies. He appointed me as her lawyer and visited her with me in jail. When his parents refused to help him financially defend his accused Arab girlfriend, he sold his own car to cover the fees for her defense in court because he is still a student at the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Khartoum. His Sudanese father threatened to divorce his Ethiopian mother and disown him if he did not give up the so-called foolish idea of hiring a lawyer to defend his accused Arab girlfriend in South. When he stood by his firm decision to appoint Letu for Insaf, Deng was kicked out of his house by his African father. On the same day, the Muslim father divorced his Christian wife, who is the mother of the African lover of my Arab defendant in South. Therefore, he proved that he is true in his love for her, and no amount of threat could stop him from defending her. Your Honor, the judge and the jurymen, if you convict this noble Arab girl in South, you will convict the epitome of honor, courage, and purity. You will encourage prejudice, racial discrimination, corruption, adultery, and wrong customs and practice of our people, of the fight between the bride and groom on their first wedding night. Accordingly, I ask you, the members of the jury, to acquit the innocent defendant in South Salah Janet of the false charges that were written against her. Thank you, Your Honor, the judge, the honorable jurymen, and ladies and gentlemen. Then the lawyer Siham Khalil bowed her head before the court as a sign of respect for justice and returned to her seat. The third session has ended, and the court's final ruling will be issued in a special session soon. So said the judge, and then hit his table with gavel.